Hi Stampers, it's Elizabeth from StampScrapAndMore.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Canada. And thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel today. We are going to make a wedding card. It's a wedding shaker card and it is on page, let me look, double check, 59 of the Holiday Catalogue. I needed a wedding card a few weeks ago, and when I saw the wedding card that's in the Holiday Catalogue, it sold me on a couple of sets, a couple of bundles, and we're going to make that card today. I'd actually showed this card on my team page a couple of weeks ago, and one of the team members said I need a tutorial on how to make that. So Lois, this tutorial is for you. So it is using the Cheers to That stamp set. And I actually purchased the bundle because you can get it at 10% discount when you purchase the bundle, right? And with that came the die that says Cheers and 2 swirls. Okay. The other bundle that it uses, well, it doesn't use actually the whole bundle, is the Sip, Sip, and Hooray. And again, it's a bundle and it was 10% off, so I bought the bundle, but we're not using this actual stamp set in this card, but we are using the dies that come with it. So we are going to be using the champagne flute, and it has a variety: martini glass, wine glass, some bubbles. I can't wait to play more with this stamp set and this bundle, but for this card, we're going to be just using the dies, and we're going to be using the champagne flute right here. And what else we're going to be using? We're going to be using the Scripty 3D embossing folder. We're going to be using the Seaside Spray cardstock, and this is 11 by 4 1/4, and it is scored at 5 1/2. We need a piece of the Seaside Spray that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. We need a piece of Whisper White that is 5 1/4 by 4. We need a piece of window sheet, and the window sheet depends on how far away you die cut the champagne flutes. I have found I've made this card a couple of times. 4 by 4 seems to be a good size that you need to cut out to the Scripty. We also need some Night of Navy ink. We need the foam adhesive strips, well-used foam adhesive strips. We need some woven thread sequence, and the bundles, foamy window sheets, woven thread sequence. Oh, and some silver glimmer paper, and I've already die cut out the Cheers, and some silver glimmer paper. Oh, and glue dots and snail adhesive, obviously. Okay, and then a thin strip of Whisper White for the bride and groom. So let's get over to my desktop, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we can do this card in a one take wonder, right? Okay, so we have, this is our cardstock base, and what I've done with the piece of Seaside Spray that's 4 1/8, and we're on this side, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I've already taken it to the die cutting machine, and I have already die cut out the 2 champagne flutes. So what I did was put one champagne flute on and then put it in again, and I just angled it just a titch and die cut it out again, and then I ran the whole thing through the Scripty embossing folder. Now the reason why I've done this card, this layer at 4 1/8 and 5 3/8, because we need enough room at the bottom and the top for the adhesive strips. So that is why I did it that size. So now we've done this, and we've cut it out, and we have embossed it, and I'm going to lay it on my cardstock. And I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm just going to put a little pencil mark at the top of both champagne flutes, and at the bottom, like that, and on the edge. So I basically put a little pencil mark where the top of the champagne flutes are, the bottom of the champagne flutes, and the widest point of the champagne flutes. And there's a reason for that, because we are actually going to put the adhesive strips directly on to here. And that way we can put our sequins in and layer the top over it. Oh, but before we do that, let's adhere the window sheet. So you're going to take the piece that's been embossed, and with some multi-purpose liquid glue, and let's hope that it doesn't, oh, there we go. It does have adhesive in it. And I'm going to put adhesive around, oops, the actual image that's been die cut out. And then we're going to take the window sheet and lay it on top. And make sure you smush that adhesive down really well. Now, the next step that you're going to do, it's totally up to you. And first off, because this has been embossed, make sure you really get the multi-purpose liquid glue into all of the crevices of the embossed image. Now, the next thing you're going to do, I have a really old embossing buddy, and I'm just going to gently wipe over the window sheet. And that is just to take off any static for the sequence when we layer it, put the sequence on here and then attach that on top. Okay, so now we're going to take our adhesive strips, and I'm going to cut one that is that length. So from that, the width, the widest part of the image. And so this is why I can't tell you how much to actually cut for the window sheet or for the adhesive strips, because it depends on how wide apart your champagne flutes are. So that's the width. The lowest part is those tiny little pencil marks. And so I am going to put this below those pencil marks because I don't want the adhesive strip to be shown, right? There we go. And I'm going to do the same at the top. And actually, I'm going to just measure that, and it was right there. Oops. Sometimes it's fiddly to get the adhesive strip off without pulling the top part off. And so again, this was the top part. Really hard to see the pencil marks, but I promise that they're there. And so I am going to put the adhesive strip above the top marks. And as long as they're pretty close to the same at the bottom, it's okay, because the champagne flutes are more narrow. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the middle of the champagne flute are these two tiny pencil marks. And so I am going to measure down, it's the same thing actually, and I am going to put an adhesive strip in the middle of the two champagne flutes and bring them to the bottom. And if you've just cut over a little bit, just snip it off, but you've got to make sure that the edges are sealed so that when you put the sequins in, the sequence doesn't get loose, right? Now I'm going to do a dry fit here, and just to make sure that I'm on the right track. So yep, see, so far I'm on the right track. I'm just doing a dry fit. Actually, I've got a little bit of adhesive there. And now we're going to just cover it in and do 2 strips down each side like that. When somebody shows you, explains to you how it's done, it makes life so much easier. The first time I did a shaker card, I actually put the adhesive strips on the back here, and then it was like, oh, how do I get this onto here? So I had to like turn the card like above my head and attach it that way, so it was silly. And then I realized, oh, that's not how you do it, Elizabeth. This is how you do it. There we go. And I'm going to cut off one more. Is that, no, this side. And it really doesn't matter how pretty it looks underneath that layer, because it's going to get covered, right? I'm just snipping off because it's a little short, a little long, I should say. Okay, now the one last thing we have to do, let me just do another dry fit to make sure I'm on the right track. Yep, I'm on the right track. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a strip down here so that the card, it lays correctly. And I'm just eyeballing this one. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to take our sequence, and this is a wedding card, and if you wanted to, let me just reach over here. There are also these snowflake sequins in the catalog, and you could actually, aren't they cute? You could use the snowflake sequence if you wanted to do like a Happy New Year card or a Christmas card, a shaker card. So that's there's really cute. And then we're going to put just a selection of sequins in that groove and in that groove. I'm going to actually put a little bit more in. Okay, so there we go. And now we're going to pull off, if you wanted to, the, let me just, yeah, if you wanted to, you could take an eraser and you could erase the little pencil marks. They are so fine on here that I am not going to do that. If you do that, make sure you get all of those erasers, little pieces of erasers off of the card, because it will interfere and it will get cause static and will show up on your window sheet. So just make sure you clean it off. My pencil marks were so light that I can hardly see them, so I know you can't, and I know the recipient won't be able to as well. It's something you've got to be careful of. One of the card I made that got the ink spot on it, I did erase. I was a lot heavier handed, and I did erase them, but I took an old makeup brush and just really brushed the card off so that I got all the little fibers off. Hope that makes sense. Okay, I've got to stand up. Oh, oh no, I thought it just, I think it stalled there for a second. Okay, I'm standing up, so I can see over top. And you are going to layer one on top. Now just make sure you really seal those edges in. Make sure that they're really well and adhered. Look at that. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. See, isn't it nice when somebody shows you how to do something? So now we're going to take the cheers, and you need glue dots for this. I tried to use the multi-purpose liquid glue, but I have to tell you it didn't work, because when you put this through the die cutting machine, it has a bit of a hollowness to it, and you had to put in a lot of the liquid glue, and it was splaying all over the place. So I thought better than that. So I thought, okay, we're going to use glue dots. So I'm going to put the glue dots, and I'm kind of going to roll them around so that they're not flat, that they're bunched up a little bit, right? Like pinch them together. Did you hear that Valerie Harper died today? Or I don't know if it was today or last night. That's very sad. The reason why I'm saying that is because I'm watching, I have all seasons of Mary Tyler Moore, and I thought, oh, I'm crafting today, so I am going to watch Mary Tyler Moore. And yeah, and Valerie Harper passed away. It's sad. But she'd been sick for a while, so sometimes it's a blessing. Okay, and I'm going to put one more. I know this is not a fun part of watching me do this. I'm going to put one up on the top as well. Oh, stuck. Okay, so just make sure that they're kind of tucked under. Okay. And I'm going to layer this down and put the cheers, and just make sure that you get those glue dots all adhered, because I bunched them up. They will stick really well to the cardstock. Okay, so there's the cheers. Now let me do, I've the little to the bride and groom, I have loaded up my Stamparatus. This is a mess, right? Because I was making a few of them, and this is a really thin stamp, and is hard to get a nice, crisp, even image. And so I wanted to use the Stamparatus. So I'm just going to ink that up and stamp. See the benefit of the Stamparatus. I actually, just so you know, I have 2 marks here, and that's where I knew where to line up the Stamparatus. So if you're wondering how I did that so easily, that's how. And then I'm going to just trim the edges off here. And I'm going to use some mini dimensionals. And I tell you this all the time, put a dimensional in the middle, because that way it doesn't sink or just crush in the mail. Mind you, the card that, it was a group card. One of the girls at work got married, and a few of us went in and got a gift, and I made the card. And so we didn't mail it, we hand delivered it. And then to the bride and groom, I just realized I forgot to do one thing. So in the cheers also comes the exclamation mark. So I've taken the top part of the exclamation mark, and I am going to put glue dot on it as well. Oh, yeah, there goes my screen, just kind of went off and came back on again. So I don't know if it's internet problem or computer problem. I'm almost done. It usually does that when I'm doing a Facebook Live, but it hasn't done it when I've been recording, so I don't like that now that I'm recording. So I'm going to put the exclamation mark, but let me just reach over, because you know where I'm going with this. I'm going to take a mini rhinestone, or one of the small rhinestones, sorry, and I'm going to put it, oh, it's just flicked again. There we go, like that. I don't know if it's just flicking on my side now, or it's doing it on your side as well. I think it's probably doing it on your side. Oh dear. Okay, and then we are going to stamp the congratulations on the inside, which I've already done. And we're going to adhere it. And I've done it because it's the navy, and the navy sometimes gets, takes a while to dry. And I'm going to adhere it on the inside of the card. There we go. And there is the Cheers shaker card. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that the it might have stalled on my end, but I hope it didn't stall on your end. And there is the Cheers tutorial for the wedding card on page 59 of the Holiday Catalog. If you have any questions, give me a shout. And that was under 18 minutes, so that's not too bad for a tutorial, and I hope that you found it useful and you liked it. If you need any questions, just send me a message at info@stampscrapandmore.com, and I hope to see you again real soon. Take care.